Hello everybody and welcome to OT Academy's webinar series. Happy to have you with us out here today, and I want to start off by saying this is going to be fully interactive today, so please interact with us on our social media channels. Let us know what you think, or your thoughts and comments along the way. Today's topic is going to be retirement income, where to start. Kind of an odd topic, but it's really important given the current status of where most Americans are, and I would say probably most global community members are with regard to their retirement, their savings, and how they're building that savings. So that's going to be our focus for today. Before we get started, a quick little disclaimer just to let you know this is for educational purposes only, and there's all kinds of legal description in the disclaimer, which I'll let you read real quick, and that's about enough of that. All right, so I want to start off with 4 really key points. This, to me, sets the whole foundation for our discussion today, and it deals with the reality of personal finance, our current condition. So this is U.S. statistics. Some of you international members out there, yours will be slightly different, but I want you guys to understand how dire this is. The first fact out there in a survey that was done, I believe this is by the EBRI, which is the Employee Benefits Research Institute, said that 57% of U.S. workers have financial assets that total less than $25,000. Now, of course, this is taking into consideration people who are very young, so that kind of makes sense when we look at the youth not having a lot of money saved. So this isn't too bad. This one here, number 2, is the one that really strikes a chord with me. 47% of U.S. workers 45 and older have financial assets that total less than $25,000. Now, I'm willing to bet you that most of you, in a course of 1 year, are probably going to spend more than $25,000. So if you have less than $25,000 saved for retirement, and you finally hit retirement, it means you're going to carry yourself for maybe 1 year. Well, given the fact that life expectancy in the U.S. now is right around 78 years of age, if you retired at 66 and went to 78, that's 12 years, and you need to now stretch that $25,000 to make that happen. That is a very, very tough task to do, and of course, we're living longer than 78. Who knows when the last census was done with regards to age? My guess is it's probably getting closer to the 80 or in the 80s as we speak. So, pretty important that we start planning, because clearly by the numbers of the analysis, people aren't prepared for retirement. Our next fact out here looks at 28% of U.S. workers have less than $1,000 in total savings and investment. Boy, I don't know whether to feel embarrassed or bad for individuals out there, because $1,000 in total savings and investments tells me something. It tells me that they're really not being responsible with their spending. Now, of course, that's a broad assumption. It could be that they've hit some financial hard times, they've put themselves in a difficult spot, but generally what you see is people living beyond their means. They're buying some stuff that they just don't need. You're going to go out and buy yourself a new set of Kanye West sneakers when you can go and get another pair for $20, but you really want to buy these for $1,000. That doesn't make much sense. That's poor money management. So a lot of it, I think, comes down to money management, which we'll talk a little bit about here today. The final one is really scary. And it kind of leads to the root of the problem of why people don't have money to save for retirement, which is 1 in 3 Americans are currently in collections. I have to read that one slowly because it really just makes you want to hang your head and go, why is this happening? And I feel it's this keep up with the Joneses. I've got to buy the new car. I got to buy the new sneakers. I got to buy the new computers. I got to buy all this new stuff. You don't have to, right? It's about making smart choices with our consumption patterns. But of course, when we're faced with, I've got a credit card, I can go buy all this stuff, and now you're on the hook for 28% interest, it can bring you down into collections very, very quickly. So let's start by we're really going to look at 5 things today. Now, some of them are very actionable, which will be steps you can take immediately and start saving for retirement. And it's actually very, very easy. Others are going to be a little bit more I want to sound subjective, but they're going to be a little different than what you might normally be thinking of. So let's start off with the main one out there, and this is something we've talked about in the past on other sessions for OT Academy, which you can find at otacademy.com. And this really deals with spending. Solution number 1, spend less. And you're like, yeah, I got that, Merlin. Well, look, let's take a look at spending and income for an individual person. We're going to use a basic example here, because every month we incur expenses. First expense, housing, right? We've got to put a roof over our head. You might have an apartment, a condo, might have a mortgage, but you're spending money on housing. Number 2 is going to be utilities. So you're looking at cable, you're looking at internet, you're looking at gas, heating bills, all that adds up. Food, you're eating 3 square meals a day, right? Health department tells you to do that. Are you paying at the delis? Are you mixing it all up at home? What are you doing to eat? How about clothing? You're buying that new shirt, you're buying some new sneakers every week because you want to be fashionable? That adds up too much. Insurance, we've got health insurance, I've got homeowners insurance, I've got car insurance, that adds up as well. We have things like medical insurance and medical expenses, which hopefully those aren't adding up monthly. You have other things like transportation. How am I getting where I need to go? If you're living in a big city, great, you got buses, but most of us have cars and motorcycles and all kinds of other transportation that we probably don't necessarily need, all of it. So it's about optimizing all of these expenses, and of course this list goes on and on and on. There's a lot of other things that we are spending money on every month. So what I wanted to do is show you a sample, and this is just a sample. Maybe you can kind of anticipate where you might fall in with this one, but here's an individual, don't know their age, but they make a $4,000 a month salary. So they're making $48,000 a year gross. Now, after they take out the taxes, so the net here, because you gotta love the U.S., we've got, and I put them from California, so we've got federal income taxes, state income taxes. They're only really making $3,000 a year, $3,000 a month after taxes. So how does this sample monthly expense breakdown look? Well, you can see here we've got $1,500 for mortgage and debt. Now, that isn't necessarily mortgage. That, in this case, is a 2-bedroom apartment, all right? Utilities, looking at $360 a month. That's about 12% of our budget. $750 for food and general expenses. When I say general expenses, that includes clothing and travel, so that's 25%. Insurance, kind of low there at $275. Maintenance, medical, etc., is about $100 a month. And the 2 alarming things in this sample that we want you to look at. Number 1 is down here at the bottom. Well, actually, we'll reverse that. We'll say number 1 is look at the 50.2% that they're paying for mortgage. That is huge. Now, there are guidelines, which we'll look at here in just a second, but you can see over half the pie of his monthly expenses is just in housing. That is a problem for this individual. But for me, the shining, glaringly obvious thing here is how much they have for savings every month. They have $2 a month to save. Woo-hoo! You're going to save yourself $24 a year? All right. You might have yourself $100 by the end of 30 years of investing. I mean, come on. You're not going to do anything with $2. So the most important thing that you guys should do today, if you're at work right now, maybe you do it tonight when you go home, but is to sit down and be very objective. I want you to go to otacademy.com, and you'll see right on the front page there's a little button that says Tool. I think it says Tools. Click on Tools, and the first thing that shows up will say Calculators. Now, there is a budget calculator that you can pull up, which is great. It allows you to put in all of these numbers to see how your pie chart stacks up. Now, what I want you to do before you do that, though, is I want you to make a list of all of your expenses, right? All your utilities, all your consumption patterns. And you might not know what you're spending per month. So there's a lot of great apps out there that you can use to track your monthly spending. I have one on my phone that I use that you start off at the beginning of the month, and everything that you do, every purchase, you buy a pack of gum, put it on there just to see where your expenses go every month. And then now you have a good estimate as to what your monthly expenses are. From there, we can start to work with that information to maybe cut some things out. We might actually be able to increase in other areas, but you have a better idea of your consumption patterns, because that's why I think most people fail at saving money for retirement. So let's go back to that housing example for just a second. We remember it was $1,500 a month for his apartment. So how much should you spend on housing? Well, you have monthly mortgages and rental income, right? You're going to be in one of those 2 categories. You're going to rent something unless you live with your parents, they don't charge you any money, and well, good for you. Or you're going to be buying a home and paying a mortgage. So this individual is going to fall somewhere right about in here. Remember, they're making $4,000 a month, so times 12, you're looking at $48,000. So they should be spending between $1,200 and $1,700, and really you shouldn't go over that $1,200 number. We want to stay at 29% max. Of course, we all will be about 30 minutes, Vipin, for this webinar today. You want to obviously stay as low as you can, and look, everybody wants to have a bigger house. I want that extra room so I can store stuff in it. I want the game room. I want the video room. I want a huge backyard. But what do you really need now? Is it okay for you to forego this huge backyard and a home theater in your house to save yourself maybe an extra $1,000 a month? It probably is. And ultimately, we can take that $1,000 a month and grow it to something much more substantial down the road. But unfortunately, a lot of people are very short-sighted and say, I want these luxuries now, and therefore they don't have this money for retirement. So it's about that bird in the hand, we're two in the bush type of mentality. So our individual, if they're spending $1,500 a month right now on rent, they're near the high end of their limit for housing. And I'd say that they're over the limit personally. Now, let's go look at some other things. As I mentioned, I want you to go home, I want you to compile all your expenses, put them on a piece of paper, and then put them in a spreadsheet so you get a nice pie chart and you can start to adjust these numbers. But it all boils down to getting all that information into one document that you can look at and see, here's my income, here's my expenses, my liabilities, and now you know how much you're going to have every month to invest or what your shortfall is every month. And if you are negative at the end of the month, let's say you do this analysis and it shows you have negative $10 every month, then you have a problem. You need to start tracking your spending and cut some things out. When you map it out, every month you're going to have a set of expenses, and you're going to have basically three categories. You're going to have must-haves. These are things that you have to have. I'm not going to get rid of that. For example, I have to have my car. I have to have my home, right? I need a place to stay. I absolutely want my TV and internet. You have things that are adjustable, right? Maybe you have, let's say, a utility bill. And you know what? It's summertime, gets real hot. Maybe if I don't use the air conditioning, I'll save myself $50 a month. I know some friends in Austin, Texas, their utility bill is almost $1,000 a month because they use AC all the time. But what if we curtailed that a little bit or didn't use it all the time and I get my expense down to, let's say, $700? Well, I'm saving $300 a month. So we can start to cut back a little bit there. Maybe instead of eating out every day, I bring my lunch to work. Maybe the nice to haves. We were talking magazine subscriptions, gym memberships, your iced mocha frappuccino that you get 5 days a week. Maybe you don't need those things. Maybe you go to McDonald's and you get your coffee for 99 cents as opposed to $5. Right away, you're saving yourself 80% over going to, let's say, Starbucks for your coffee. I know it's not as glamorous, but hey, this is money we're talking about. So what we want to do is go back through here and start to remove some of these boxes if we can. So for example, let's say that our individual in our sample, he absolutely has to have internet. Has to have it. He has to have TV. But you know what's interesting? And this is what I did recently. My cable bill was $170 a month. I had multiple receivers and DVRs and all that stuff. $170 a month. And I went, man, that's a lot of money. So what did I do? Well, I got a cable package that was a little bit better. When the irony there is actually that better cable package cost me less because they're constantly reducing their prices on their packages, but that's another story. I got rid of cable altogether. I said, I don't want anything to do with you. I closed it. Of course, they're sending me all these wonderful offers. And now, all the programming that I would like to watch, I stream through my internet. So I have technically gone here through this must-haves, and I have removed some boxes from my must-have category. We can go through the adjustable and start to reduce the consumption that we do on, let's say, electricity or gas. And maybe our nice-haves, we remove some of those because, you know what, I don't need a new subscription to Boys Life magazine or National Geographic anymore. I can get it online with my internet subscription, which is a quarter the price. So right away, I have freed up capital. And this is important because just because you freed up capital doesn't mean all of a sudden now you're on the road to riches. You have to do something right with it. What happens all too often is people free up capital, they look at the end of the month and go, wow, I have $500 more than I thought I did. Let's go buy those pair of Kanye West sneakers again. Bad idea. Stay away from those. So let's look at a simple example. And this is one that I go through every day. And I go out to lunch every single day, much to my boss's frustration. So let's just say lunch is our topic of discussion right now. I go to a little sandwich shop down the street. And every day that costs me $9.93. Of course, you could actually make the argument that it costs me more than that because I'm paying gas and transportation costs. Now, let's say that's $10 a meal, 5 days a week. That's $50 a week I'm spending for this sandwich. Now you look at about 50 weeks a year. That ends up being $2,500 a year just for lunch. Well, what if I was a little more proactive? I took an extra couple minutes a day and I went out and I bought myself a loaf of the best bread that I can find. I buy great deli meats, I buy some apples, I buy some bananas, I buy myself a soda or a something, I don't know, Capri Sun, whatever you want to throw in there, but I bring my bag lunch to work every day. Now, if I bring a bag lunch to work every day, that's going to cost me significantly less. It'll probably cost me about $15 a week. A pound of lunch meat, a loaf of bread, and a few apples and oranges is not going to cost that much. Times that by 50 weeks a year, you're looking at $750 a year by preparing your own lunch. And you're like, well, it's not that glamorous. Well, you know what's glamorous? Saving yourself $1,750. That's glamorous. That's something that you can put into action. And it doesn't necessarily have to go into retirement, but if that's where you look and you say, I have a problem, I don't have anything saved for the future, now we can start to put that money into our retirement accounts and learn how to grow that money going forward. Now, another step here would be the living expenses. One of the things we saw early in our sample is that our individual was spending 50.2% of their gross, or actually of their net income on housing. That's a lot of money. Now, what could they do? Well, remember, it was a 2-bedroom apartment. So very easily, we could bring on an extra roommate. So we bring on an extra roommate. That roommate now pays for half the rent. Of course, our utilities might go up a little bit because of that. But we're taking one of our major costs, housing, and immediately cutting it in half. That's a savings of $750 a month for this individual. So where does this put them now on this table? Well, remember, they were here. They were in that $1,500 bracket, and that's where, according to their salary, they should have been. Now, they're even better because they're up here. They're basically in an apartment that somebody that makes $30,000 a year should be in. By splitting that housing cost, they have now saved themselves a lot of money and put themselves in a much better financial position to save. So we've done that. We're now maybe eating lunch, packing our own lunches every day. We've cut our living expenses significantly by bringing on a roommate. And now this pie chart is significantly different. Notice the housing expenses. It's only 25.1%. Now, that 25.1% is lower than what most people will say, which is it should be below 29%. And 29% is a magic number that people use, and it should be 29% of your gross. Well, what's even better for this individual is that's 25% of his net. So he's in a very, very good position. As long as he's not in an uncomfortable spot, he should be doing fine. We cut utilities a little bit, right? Because we got rid of the cable bill. Our utilities did go up a little bit because maybe some extra heating, maybe some extra electricity because of the new roommate. We cut back on food a little bit, right? We're eating at home, but we were, I think, at $7.50. We've cut it back to $2.50, and that is simply $200 savings from eating at home. That's maybe dinners and lunches, and also $50 less spending per month for clothing. Insurance stayed the same, so did maintenance. But what's striking here is now how much money is in this account every month. That's $1,092. Remember, it used to be $2. So they basically made $1,090 extra per month by doing nothing. They didn't get a new job, they didn't create new revenue streams. They simply looked at personal spending and said, what can I cut back on? What's reasonable for me? We all have things in our life, I guarantee it, that we could cut back on, right? I actually used to really like to go to Starbucks and get mochas. I'm not even a big coffee fan, but that was like a $5 plus expense every day. I completely cut it out. There's no need for that anymore. I come in and I have a nice glass of water. It's a lot cheaper and healthier for me. Some of these things might be addictions, the coffee one, but there's things we can remove if we're not using it. If you have a gym membership, just ask yourself, when was the last time you went to the gym? If you have a gym membership that you pay monthly fees on, let's say $30 a month, and you haven't been in a year, get rid of it. Do push-ups and sit-ups in the morning. It's free. So start finding ways to save money. Now, Vipin says, instead of placing the money into retirement, why can't we use it to generate assets? Well, what we're looking to do is to grow our net worth one way or another. The topic for today was ways to fund retirement because the glaringly obvious problem for most people is they don't have money saved for retirement. Now, could you take this money and, let's say, open a trading account and start actively trading that one? Absolutely. But that wasn't the focus for today, but certainly we want to take what we can save and grow it. That's the point. I think from this first section here, what I want to make sure you guys understand is I don't want you to say, oh, I have $1,000 a month now, let's go spend it on something I don't need. It's about good debt versus bad debt. Good spending versus bad spending. Bad spending is buying that new inversion table because you think it's going to help your back out and you use it once in 7 years. That's bad investment. That's bad spending. Good spending is saying, all right, I'm putting it in retirement. I'm going to make this grow for me. I'm going to go to an active trading account and I'm going to If you know how to trade, do it. If you don't know how to trade, learn first. But let's learn how to trade and be active and grow that capital that way. Let's make our money work for us, not buy stupid stuff that we don't need. That was the point. All right, let's look at number 2 on our list. Number 2 may sound weird, and this is something I've been very active with for myself, is sell unused items. What do I mean by that? Well, look, just go into your garage or go into one of the rooms in your house and just look around and just think of all the things that you haven't used, or that are just sitting there dormant that you don't use. So I'm going to walk you through 5 things that I have sold in one day. All of these items sold in one day. First one, I have this mountain bike. This mountain bike has been sitting in my, actually not even in my garage, it's on the side of my house collecting dust. It was hilarious, just sitting there getting dirty. I have not ridden this bike in over a decade. Tires are flat. I put it out there, I sold it for 120 bucks. So instead of it collecting dust and being annoying to me and making me feel bad because I never go out and ride the darn thing, I now have $120 I can put towards my investment accounts. So that was one thing I sold. I also bought a new truck a couple years ago because mine was getting a little funky and had some really nice sound system in it. So, of course, I'm not going to sell it with that. Let's make some money. I took the speakers out. Those have been sitting for 2 years in my garage. I sold this pair of JL Audio speakers, 75 bucks, right? It may not seem like a lot, but it starts to add up. I'm a DJ. I like playing music, but I bought a new DJ system because I want to have something newer. Well, this was sitting there for 5 years. Well, sold this mixer for $100. I have baseball cards, which I've been collecting since I was a little kid. I'm a huge I was a huge baseball card fan. So notice all these boxes. This took up so much space in my house and my yard. I said, you know what, I got to get rid of this stuff. So I took all the really, really expensive ones out, and I made an incredible deal. It's probably still about $2,000, maybe $2,000 worth of cards here. Some guy came and bought it within one day for 150 bucks. That's now out of my life, and I now have 150 bucks in my pocket. This was actually given to me through work over 20 years ago. 20 years this thing has been sitting in my garage taking up space. I said, you know what? I'm tired of it. It's an amplifier, 1600 watt amplifier. I tell you, we have a lot of mobile DJs where I live. This thing sold in under an hour, 250 bucks. Look at all this stuff and think of everything on the screen from a perspective of how much space it took and the last time I used it. The most recent one that I used in here was probably the speakers, and that was over 2 years ago. All of these things are a waste of time and a waste of money for me. This ended up being a nice income stream for the day. Bottom line, here's your rule. If you have not used an item in over a year, odds are you're not going to use it and you don't miss it. This group of 5 items made me 695 bucks in one day. Now, I have a lot of other things that I've compiled over the years I could get rid of, but this was just some of the expensive stuff that I said, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this, and now I have 695 bucks that I could go and put it in a retirement account, I could put it in an investment account, I could put it in a trading account, or I could maybe even start a business with it. Bottom line is whatever money we save, we want to make it grow for us, not go and buy more junk that I'm going to end up selling down the road because I don't use it anymore. Don't do that. Now, where do we go sell these things? Well, it's funny because years ago, the old classic was you'd have a garage sale, right? You'd open up your garage, drag a bunch of stuff out at the crack of dawn, and of course there's already a line of people waiting because you put signs all around your neighborhood. That still happens quite a bit, but for me, if I'm going to sell like clothing and maybe some furniture and pieces like that, that's probably what I'll do as a garage sale because you can do it all at once. But if I'm doing real expensive stuff, I might go other ways. Another way that people used to do it is newspapers. You can go out and sell things on newspaper, but that's kind of slow. You got to take time to run the ad. You probably have to pay for it, so probably not going to use newspapers. We have things like Craigslist, which, depending on what you're selling, can be very good. Of course, you hear some nightmare stories about Craigslist. There's some pros and cons to that one. One that I've found that I actually prefer is what's called Facebook Marketplace. I know some of you might hate Facebook, but it makes it very easy to sell something because I can now see the individual that's buying whatever it is that I'm selling. So you'll know who they are when they roll up to the house. You can kind of see a little bit about them so you know they're maybe not shady. Craigslist, you don't know anything about these people, so it's a little more risky in my opinion. The final one, there's a lot of great apps that you can now put on your cell phones. Apps like Let Go or Offer Up are some apps out there that you can use to sell these items. Whether they come by and pick them up or you mail them out, that's up to you. But you have a lot of choices on how to sell these items. All right, number 3. This one's kind of interesting. Retire later. And this seems really kind of counterintuitive because isn't the topic today retirement income, how to get started? Well, there's one thing that a lot of people don't really understand, and that is that when you look at Social Security, of course, a lot of people are anticipating and relying, hoping that Social Security will be there. There are ways we can make that work for us and get more out of Social Security. It's not like you get this number and that's it. You can adjust that number. So how does it work? Well, if you have FRA, which is full retirement age, at 66, you have the full amount coming to you, and we'll look at that in just a second. But let's say it's $1,000 a month. Well, you can also pull money out early. You can start to declare your Social Security benefits at 62, or you could wait till 70. There's pros and cons to each one of these. If you withdraw early, you can withdraw at 62, but you're going to get significantly less. You'll get about 25% less than your total. So if it was 1,000, you're going to get 750. If you wait, you're going to get about 32% more. So the longer you wait, the better. Of course, remember, if you pull out at 66, you're going to be getting that money every month, while the other scenario, you'd wait till you're 70. So there is a kind of a trade-off point here. But ultimately, you can increase how much money you're going to get during retirement simply by adjusting when you pull that money out. Now, we have a lot of information at OT Academy's website. There's some great videos on Social Security, so I won't dive any more into that now. Solution number 4, one of my personal favorites. This has been something that I am a huge advocate of, and that is invest in you. Now, think about where you're working at right now. Doesn't matter what kind of job it is. Let's say you're an executive assistant, and you have a certain skill set. What you could do is you could go out and get some training, get some education to improve that skill set. Maybe you go out and learn Salesforce, or you go out and learn Photoshop or some video editing software, or you go and learn how to master PowerPoints, or maybe public speaking. A new skill set to either enhance your skill set that you currently have, or maybe something that would allow you to get a better promotion by bringing on a newer skill set in your current place of employment. This is great. A lot of people do this, and you should be doing this. We should always be bettering ourselves. Don't get complacent and just say, well, I'm going to stay here forever and not improve. Always improve yourself. So investing in yourself, as long as you know that there's a potential for more reward down the road. So if you're going to go out and invest in yourself so you can learn underwater basket weaving, I'm pretty sure that's not going to benefit you in your place of employment unless your place of employment makes baskets. So let's make sure it's focused on what you do so you can get a promotion within the place that you work. Now, what if you're working in a place, you know what, I'm just here for the check, I can't stand it, I'm tired of it, I don't really want to work here, but I need the money. Well, maybe you go out and you invest in you by getting an education and learning a new skill set. Maybe you go out and learn a skill set like becoming an electrician, right? Now you have a skill set that you can use on the side. You could actually go and work for a major electrical company, but there's an upside here, and electricians generally get paid pretty well. Key here for me is this new skill set. It should be something that you'd like to do. It should also allow you to do things that you want to do. So maybe if you like working with electrical, you like building homes, you could go for a contractor's license. Maybe you like helping people, you can get into nursing. If you're like me, which I did many, many years ago, I really was fascinated with the financial markets. I went down and I got an education in how to be a trader and an investor. So learning that new skill set allows us to kind of do what we want. I say that loosely because some people don't want to be electricians, others do. I have a friend who that's all he wanted is be an electrician. But we can go and we can find a profession that might give us more upside potential, more money, so now we can start saving more money for retirement or grow our investment accounts and live the life that you want. Now, some of these are professions which will give you great flexibility. Like trading allows you to trade whenever you want because of foreign markets and currencies. You can trade almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's another consideration when you look at the skill set that you're going to learn. The final one here, kind of leave it as like a little ba-dum-dum-tsh kind of piece, but it's true. A lot of people out there go work second and third jobs. I have a friend that's working a third job simply so she can pay her bills. Well, we need to work on the occupations that she's in because obviously there's not a lot of money there. But you go out and look for a second job. Maybe you become a bartender at night, or what seems to be very popular now is you go out and be an Uber or a Lyft driver, a pizza delivery person, or maybe you work in security at night. Bottom line is if you're not meeting your financial goals, you've got to boil it down to one of two things. The first one is you're probably overspending or spending incorrectly. That's the easiest one to fix. It just takes some time for you to sit down, look at your numbers, and plan it out. The other side of this is you're not making enough money. That's understandable. If you make that list I told you about at the end of the day today, you go home or whenever you watch this webinar, stop what you're doing, write this stuff down. If you write down your income, your expenses, and your liabilities, and you map it all out, and you realize that my must-haves, the housing, my insurance, my car, the pieces that I need to live are more than what I'm making, then you have the wrong job. You either need to retrain and get a new skill, you need to get a new job or find a profession that pays you more. because that bare bones minimum essentials, which is what you need to live, you need a job that pays for that. Now, if we can get something that gets us above that number and significantly above it, now all of a sudden we're on the path to making significant gains for our retirement, for our financial well-being, etc. So that is really the basis, the genesis of where to start. For me, it's about starting at a look at our own personal consumption patterns. Make sure we understand exactly how much we're spending every month, track it, and stay on top of it. Don't let yourself slide and all of a sudden go splurge on something really dumb that you just don't need, that you're not going to use, but it looks really cool while you have it. So that was our lesson for today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gives you some food for thought and stimulates your brain about how we can start to generate money for retirement or improve our financial future. Track your expenses. Make sure you're on top of those. You can also go out and get yourself a new skill set. Maybe get yourself a new profession. You can also start saving money for retirement by not pulling retirement money out as quickly as you would normally. Those are our keys, and I hope that you guys found some useful tips out there and gave you some food for thought as you finish this video. So thank you guys so much. If you'd like to learn more about financial education or ways we can improve our personal finances, visit otacademy.com for more information. Take care, everybody.